We're joined in studio now by ANC's head of elections, Fikile Mbalula. Thanks a lot for joining us on Newsnight this evening.
Thank you for having us.
Now, I know that you were particularly happy in terms of the way the voter registration went and the weekend went, tabling that I think it's about 0.6% of the voting stations were actually affected by either protest or some form of unrest. In your opinion, could we have done more to salvage the matter?
Yes, I think our intervention teams working with the IEC, we must thank them. Amidst all those challenges, law enforcement agencies working with communities have managed to stabilize the situation to a certain extent. But we could do better in terms of addressing those issues of service delivery protest so that they do not become issues to be exploited by people with ulterior motives and hijack communities. We as government and the ruling party that is in government, we have a responsibility, enormous responsibility, and an honor to be voted by the people of South Africa to serve them. And this is a constant reminder through our Tumamina campaign. We must still go back to those communities beyond this weekend and every day and fix people's issues. That is what is important.
But you would understand and appreciate why is it that communities would actually use this as an opportune moment to, voice out and express their grievances. If they feel as though they have not been heard, they're definitely going to use voter registration and say, you know what, for my vote, if you want me to participate in these elections, you have to fix the streets. You have to make sure that local municipality actually works. You have to make sure that money is not looted, at a local level. So these issues will be addressed because people are feeling sometimes, and you would appreciate it, that they're not being heard by this party that has been said they're going to govern for the people.
Faith, you are spot on. We are not here to defend or to say people have got no right to protest. We must fix people's issues. This is a social contract between us and the people. It's like a trade union with the bosses. There are moments that it exploits to extract the attention of the bosses. Our bosses are the people of South Africa. And we are not saying protests should not happen. Yes, where there is a protest, it raises an ire during this period. It means people have missed an opportunity to continue to participate in a democratic process. We must go back. We must be there. We can't retreat because the voting is over. People have protested. We must serve the people. And that is what is important for us.
The bosses are the people of South Africa, and the people of South Africa, your bosses, as you would rightfully say, are behaving in this manner. Surely it means that your bosses are near about firing you.
Well, firing is what we've been working against, and at the same time, I'm ecstatic. Our people are getting the connection with the people has actually intensified, not only now, starting from many months ago. And we've ushered in new processes in the party, and we've taken up issues vigorously with the people. And where there are challenges, we are determined to get over them. And you will be fired if ever you don't hear the voices of the people. We are determined not only to hear, but to overcome.
You know, the ANC was saying, particularly within the last 2 years, we're in the process of introspection. You remember 2017, 2018 early, we're in the process of introspection and salvaging and solving some of those matters because we've heard the people, now we're heeding the people's cause, so to say. Now that you've heard the people and you're heeding the people's cause, would you say that the people have gotten some form of confidence in the ANC's ability to govern the Republic? And I'm going to speak specifically about young people, because between 18 and 30, you've got about 10 million of them who are eligible to vote, who are saying, I actually don't care. So do you think that you're winning the hearts of the people now?
The empirical evidence will speak for itself. The turnout yesterday and today, the preparedness to be in the long queues, that is another story that must be told. Not through some propaganda machinery, toxic probably, but through the practical and empirical evidence on the ground, where you have seen young people in the universities, in the TVET colleges, today as we speak, are in the queues to go and register. And you will see that enthusiasm coming up even in the next coming months, because there is an opportunity to continue to register. Remember, today is not the end. Registration will still continue. I think SAI and the IEC will explain that part. But that is what we must actually understand. And I'm ecstatic because in just 2 days, the interest that has been there, the standing up and to be counted in this process has been amazing. Yes, you've got challenges, but they are not outweighing the positives. The positive outweigh the negative. But there are negatives. We need to see it as a listening leadership, and that is on the mend, and winning the trust of the people to self-correct.
Let's talk a little bit about what the people are saying in this issue of self-correcting. And I'm going to bring in an issue because you rightfully say you are the governing party, correct? And certain elements of the governing party is under the spotlight right now. So if I have to bring, for example, what's happening with the Zondo Commission right now, various ministers are being implicated, so to say. Not to say that obviously they have to be proven, innocent and have to be proven guilty. So a person is innocent until proven guilty. In such cases where you do have members of the governing party publicly being displayed and publicly being shown that there are certain skeletons in the closet. On the ground, now let's talk about the people. On the ground, the people who are watching television, the people that are listening to the news, the people that are hearing the speak and reading the newspapers, are they not affecting, those very same constituents, are they not affecting what's happening on the ground where the people are looking at this and going, actually the ANC is more corrupt than what I ever thought?
The ANC had a choice. We went to a conference. We said, look, there's nothing that we're going to hide here. We took resolutions to establish the Zondo Commission. We immediately implemented the resolutions of our conference. Zondo Commission, to us, will never fudge things and put them under the carpet. It is to undo the rot and put it in its place.
Including if ministers of, for example, have been found to be implicated, as we've seen here, being used as examples, the ANC will self-correct, as you're saying. Will the ANC self-correct, and will the ANC who took up this decision, especially when it comes to the conference, to have the Zondo Commission and to do away with the rot, will it actually do away with this rot for the sake of the people?
If ever you forget, the ANC has been acting. You talk about VBS. How many councillors of the ANC have been asked to step aside because of being implicated? Not even been found guilty, but just been implicated in VBS. Who acted on VBS? It is the ANC government that acted on that immediately to salvage and to safeguard that and acted. Once the report had actually
just implicated, correct?
Even just implicated.
So then, for example, if Nomvula Mokonyana, for example, hypothetically speaking, who's been implicated in the Busasa, would that minister then, as you said with the VBS issue, would that minister then be asked to step down for the sake of the people because you're self-correcting, you're salvaging matters, and you're showing the people of South Africa that actually you can trust us with your vote and trust us with your future?
You know what? You don't take decisions on the basis of one-sided view. As much as people have been cited, Zondo Commission is a two-way process, just like in a court of law. Now, in terms of that particular process, people have been implicated. Big and worrisome allegations have been made, but individuals will stand up and answer. And in this particular instance,
with the VBS.
No,
I'm just trying to understand.
Are you going to give me a chance to speak?
We are, but I need us to have an honest conversation. You and I have honest conversations. Let's have an honest conversation. With VBS, you said that even if people are implicated and councils are implicated, you ask them immediately, step down. Here you're saying there's a two-way process. Help me.
Let me explain it very succinctly to you and the viewers, is that there is no contradiction in what I'm saying. The commission is in session. Names have been dropping not only now, and individuals are still to come forward and answer for themselves, and decisions will actually be made. And in this particular instance, VBS, it is not even an issue of a two-way process. A conclusion had been arrived at. And those individuals still have got the right to take up things on review and challenge anything. But a conclusion has actually been arrived at. Zondo Commission is in the process, and it is yet to even draw conclusions in relation to the behavioral patterns of individuals. But those individuals have got a right before the commission to answer.
And if those individuals are found to be guilty, the ANC will self-correct, and the ANC will ask those individuals to step down for the sake of the people.
The ANC is on the mend.
Yeah.
And I've spoken just of immediate activities. And in this particular instance, the Zondo Commission should not actually be defined outside the process of the ANC, including its conference, to say there must be a commission.
True.
And we are happy that the commission is doing its work, even though sometimes it is short-circuited to basically, like people will seek to undermine its work and all of that. We have said that let the commission continue, and those who are implicated have got the right to answer for themselves. If they don't answer, it means they will be on the wrong side. But in this particular instance, there's been allegations made which are very serious, and that is what this commission was there to serve. And if there was no commission, we wouldn't know about all of this.
Well, then on the other side of things, let me ask you this, because I saw this on Twitter, and I have to ask, because you're in my seat now. When we're talking about official matters of the African National Congress, or government official matters, right? And we're talking about Kgosi Mampuru here with the launch that happened in Limpopo, and you went on social media addressing former President Jacob Zuma, saying that perhaps questioning the appropriateness of him attending an official government matter, and in that capacity. And you were talking about ANC policies and processes, and then he responded, and then it was a back and forth and a back and forth. In your opinion, I'm not going to ask about his opinion, we'll give him the right of reply, but in your opinion, should that matter, should his appearance be handled in a different manner, or was it even appropriate for him to be there, in your opinion?
Nobody is barred from attending any other activity if they are actually invited. And that's why I put it as in a form of a question. And me and President Zuma, former President Zuma, we understand each other in relation to that particular matter, that we will meet and get a proper explanation in relation to the question.
But why did
he was not on
social media, though?
No, the social media is a platform of interaction.
Yeah.
And in this particular instance, there is nothing that was generated that meant to be negative. In this particular instance, was to clarify matters and to make everybody understand that, look, I was there because I was asked by the king and the royalty to actually speak. Matter closed. So there is no judgment on it, and it is not even something that is generated in a manner of undermining the stature of President Zuma or anything of that sort. We must respect protocols as ANC members.
And that's what
we must respect
right?
conventions.
And that's why you were questioning.
And that's what is important.
Because you were questioning it, seeking clarity on it. And seeking clarity on what are the protocols of the African National Congress respected in this regard, and were they respected in this regard, which you've got the right to ask, right? And that's what I'm saying, by you seeking clarity, you're smart. So by you seeking clarity, does that not mean that you were also questioning at some point the actual appropriateness of that attendance in that capacity?
It was stretched to that point that by President Zuma supporters and comrades, it was stretched to that point because we live in an environment which is polarized. So even if you raise issues genuinely, you will always be interpreted as attacking the former president. Because
you weren't attacking him. I
was not attacking him. Yeah. I was genuinely asking a question. But I realized that with a lot of debate for and against, it could be misinterpreted. I mean, even today when the former president responded on Twitter, I respected that. And he actually also cautioned me and said that, Comrade Mbalula, you could have raised this thing with me in another way. Otherwise, here in this platform, it could be misconstrued otherwise. And then I said, I fully agree with him about that. And it's settled there.
Then, when we're looking at the relevance and the role, I want us to talk about the role of former President Jacob Zuma, because he has been on the campaign trail as well, and has been quite vocal on the campaign trail, urging people to register to vote. Do you see South Africans, and especially the KZN constituents, being able to be mobilized once again in believing in the African National Congress, in believing in the African National Congress's ability to mend and actually introspect and serve the people? And was this strategic in using President Jacob Jacob Zuma on the campaign trail and make him very vocal. Look, we as the news media have been covering him extensively. So I must ask it, was it a strategic move by the ANC to use President Jacob Zuma to mobilize the people and to show that the ANC is not divided, there's no factionalism, but in fact it's moving towards?
You are using an unfortunate terminology, use. Who is Zuma? President Zuma, former President Zuma, is a member of the ANC. And his membership of the ANC has not been discarded. The ANC call on all its members, past and present, old and young, go out and mobilize people. President Zuma is part of those volunteers.
So you're deploying him strategically?
He's part of those volunteers.
Yeah.
When you talk about strategic deployment, you are talking about another thing. President Zuma today, he was in the West Rand. Did you see him? The reception he got there. And talking to the people in the church and singing and all of that, volunteering to go and talk to the people. And there's no strategic deployment. Strategic deployment is something else. In this particular instance, it's a response to the call that all members go out and encourage people to register, but to vote for the African National Congress. Strategic deployment will rely with me in the office of the elections, who goes where, when, what time. And in this particular instance, it is a call to voluntarism, and is part of those volunteers of the ANC who have taken it upon themselves to campaign for his own organization. So
you would say, because the strategic deployment lies within your office and lies with you, you would say that the same way in which, the spokesperson would go, or, Minister Begicele would go, would be the same way as former President Jacob Zuma would be deployed. It's just a voluntary basis.
It is a voluntary basis. In this particular instance, if there is strategic factoring into what we term deployment in the election campaign trail, that will be with me. In this particular instance, it's voluntarism. And President Zuma has been on the volunteering for the ANC and campaigning for it over time. Even in court, where he appears, he have urged people to vote for the ANC. He have in fact said that don't judge the ANC on the basis of Jacob Zuma's behavior or anything of that sort. Don't punish the ANC because you've got a problem with Jacob Zuma. Vote for the African National Congress because the future is in your hands, and keep freedom alive. And that is what he has basically said. And now you've got that arsenal and that member of the ANC who does things like that, and even when he's faced with difficulties and say, yes, I'm going through this path, but stay on the right path of following the African National Congress. Well, and that is what he's actually been doing, and saying it and doing it even practically on the ground by volunteering and encouraging people to vote for the ANC.
Bigila, you know that we can speak extensively about the African National Congress, you and I, but one thing is for sure is that you mentioned it quite right. Ultimately, your bosses, the constituents, the South Africans, are the ones that are going to determine whether or not you're fired or you're hired. And I hope, and I would hope that the people see you as someone that, and as an individual that can stand and represent South Africa. But as I'm saying, ultimately, this decision is with your bosses, the people, who will determine whether you're fired or you're hired.
It's not a given. The people will not give us a blank check. That's why we work for it. We are on the mend.
He's on the mend, and the African National Congress is on the mend, according to Fikile Mbalula joining us this evening, talking about voter registration weekend, as well as how the turnout was, as also how is it that we can move towards really a fruitful South Africa.